concepts here. So we have already provided you a link for 2025 CFA Prep Program. Follow this Excel sheet. We will be keep updating this. All decimating information, either it will be here or Telegram channel. I don't know, have you joined or not? There are 2,000 members, but only two places we work. Why? Because Telegram stores all the data. So past के भी documents आपको वहाँ मिल जाएंगे. And secondly, it is still not official, so you can find a lot of other data as well. Now, here, we have already covered 8 case studies, including today we have published one on Indian global market videos, as well as if you go to the video, you will find 2 more links there, which is linking to our blogs. Mind maps already we have prepared all, but as we will go forward, we will give you the mind maps. Today we will start with environment mind map, mind map for the environment section. Okay, today we'll cover that. Flash cards we have already prepared too and shared. One is
That
coming.
was a good one. That is a good thing way to remember.
And then there will be a summary, which we will be providing to you. Clear?
So far, no summary has been given, no?
We will provide you the complete summary, yet not provided. Okay, like I will let's start with mind map. Now this is a new mind map for chapter number 1. We have created an additional one just to make sure there is not too much of color. Yeah, and we have the same format. So as you have seen, how to read this mind map is start with the center, which is your topic, and then go based on your understanding. For example, if you want to understand what is ESG investing, then go and read about ESG investing, what all are required to understand it. For example, here they have covered definition. So how you define the ESG investing. ESG investing is a part of group of approaches which covers responsible investing, etc. Right? So follow the exact same sequence, whichever you are comfortable with. Mind map means you can read it from anywhere, but follow the sequence, start from center and then slowly go to the branches. Okay. Don't directly go to the branches. You will be confused. Now, this is introduction. Then you have second chapter, which is about the ESG market. Again, you have to start from the center.
Someone is unmute. Can please mute, please?
And then ESG market, you have to cover. Start with the ESG investing in numbers. We have already talked about here $30.3 trillion, $30.1 trillion. That's the total number of ESG assets in top 5 countries only. Yeah, and total economy we have also talked about. And in video, we have covered all concept from green economy to the bonds, green bonds. Then, of course, you have to understand stakeholder who are involved. These are the critical 8 stakeholders and their definition, etc. Again, you have to follow the videos. So that's the chapter number 2. And you can enlarge it as much as you want, because these are all are high quality. Now, today we will start with third one, which is environment, right? So environment, as I have already covered in last session, it has some key concept which we need to understand, which we have covered in the last session, and we will try to cover once more today. Now, environmental factor in investment start with climate change as a concept which you have to understand. In climate change, we have defined climate change, we looked into mitigation, adoption, and then eventually resilience. And that is what the major change is happening. From mitigation, adoption, everybody is talking about resilience. And there is some article and blog also, some recently has been published by Wall Street Journal. Wall Street has recently published a very critical and interesting article. I will try to share that tomorrow in the blog. Or if somebody can search, you can directly go to source and read about it. But I will give you my opinion piece on that particular stuff, where the climate change from mitigation and adoption, people are going for resilience, which makes more business sense in current scenario when whole world is Trumpied, right? Changed by the Trump himself, where even European has narrowed down their approach. Then once you have understood the climate change, you have to understand that there is a pressure on natural resources, for which, tell me which convention we are talking about, where 12 different parameters we are learning Stockholm, right? That was the Stockholm radial graphs, which we have learned on the natural resource uses pressure. That has a different, where we learn that Earth has a limited resource and we need 1.5 Earth now to survive. And here we talked about 0 day, right? 0 day.
Can you zoom this little bit?
This particular one is not zoomable, unfortunately.
Okay.
But
Yeah, it's happening.
it's working, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I think this is the maximum.
Okay.
The problem is then moving becomes very difficult because
Okay. Got it.
so I will share this. This has already been shared, I believe. The
Right.
other may have a restriction, but this one is shared. Okay. So key concept is natural resources. Let me reduce it, otherwise I can't move. Try one more. Okay. So natural resource covers land and marine, and we talked about land, LUF, land use and forestry, right? That is land and marine, which is a natural resource use. Now it is being challenged. Water, pollution, again, I can't move my cursor. So what waste and pollution, biodiversity and circular economy. These are the concepts which you need to understand. Now, if you come to other point, will be systemic relationship, where we will try to understand how businesses are heavily reliant on climate and natural resources and vice versa, and how these relationships decide the future of our planet, where we will try to learn climate risk and financial system, where we will be covering physical risk and transition risk in detail, that how these two risks decides our business future or even current circumstances, right? That is the risk assessment. So risk assessment we can do through the physical risk. Whoever have attended 3-day session, they know physical risk, transition risk, and one more risk, which I asked you as a homework. How many of you have checked that? In the foundation course, we have discussed about this. Okay, check that once more. Next time we will discuss it about. Then natural resource and businesses also have an inherited relationship with business, because we know there are 5 resources which you need for any business to run, right? Land, power, manpower,
Water.
absolutely.
Right.
Now, natural resource and businesses also is linked to your business activity, and which is where we focus mostly on supply chain, right? The supply chain, operation, resource management. These are the 3 critical area. So from your company, which is scope 1, operation, scope 2 and 3, which is your supply chain and resource management. This is in terms of GHG accounting I'm talking, right? So we know that relationship, we need to understand it well. Supply chain transparency and traceability establishes this fact for us to create a systemic relationship. To management and drivers, then comes the mega trends, which we have to also understand in order to establish there is a systemic relationship between your business opportunity, growth, as well as risk, which is mega trend and drivers, right? We have learned about that in chapter 1 as well. So for example, environmental factor and related mega trends are critical stuff which we need to learn, along with environmental and climate policies, which we talk about Paris Agreement, etc., and then nationally determined contributions, which are coming for the national policy, which are climate policy. Apart from that, of course, we also learned about CSRD and other measures, which also influences and drives our businesses to follow environmental factor as an opportunity or risk in their business. How many of you agree with this concept, that all this regulations influences us to follow environmental factor in our businesses? How many of you agree? Ravi?
See,
Yeah,
this
I
is
agree.
totally a guideline, right? So it helps to companies to use that for their advantage.
Absolutely. And you can decide whether this particular factor, environmental factor, is acting for you as a risk or as an opportunity. And even though risk, how I can convert into opportunity. Are you with me? So that
Yes.
is why this
Yeah.
relationship we will be learning in this particular chapter along with material impacts. Now, materiality is a critical word which is used everywhere now, specifically in terms of finance and non-financial measures like materiality assessment आप करते हैं जब भी आप ESG reporting करते हैं, isn't it? Whenever you do the ESG reporting, you need to do a materiality assessment. Everything starts there. Now, here in this case, we are talking about investment opportunity. Is this ESG terminologies are okay? So, is this particular investment of environmental factor is acting as for me as investment opportunity or a challenge? Is it material for my business or not? I need to find out. Second, corporate and project finance level also we need to understand the same. Why? Because then you can launch those bonds or you can associate with a equity funding for your project. Like road project we discussed, right? If you have a road project, what are those environmental factors which may impact the road? And in that way, we can know whether it is acting as an opportunity or a challenge. For example, flash flood happening in that area predominantly most of the time. Now, flash flood has a tendency to remove the tar roads, right? Tar road, it can take it along with it. So either you create a culvert or put some gaps in the road, culvert if you know, right? So water can pass under it or create those road with concrete. Are you with me? So those kind of materiality impact on your project need to be identified and then you need to create asset around it or do an investment in that particular part of your business. Then public finance initiative, this is specifically relates to road and then asset management. So which all asset I can, develop for my company. So whether I should do bonds, I should do debt, I should do what kind of exact investment asset so that my business can tackle that material topic, specifically in environment, is the matter of discussion in this topic. Then you have a climate scenario analysis, and I have told you climate scenario, and I gave a very good example of an actor. Since there is a sensitivity of climate to business, and then there is a scenario of that climate to business. Anybody remember that example of an actor who has seen that everything going bad for him is at exactly at one point in time?
This is
Amitabh Bachchan
Amitabh
की
Bachchan you were saying.
It's
Amitabh
ABCL.
ABCL group has faced that kind of scenario. And that is the scenario when one thing goes wrong, it has a cascading effect and a lot of things together goes
to
wrong.
some extent, Anil Dhirubhai Ambani wala bhi is not.
Absolutely. You are right. You are truly right there. But now in hindsight, it looks like he played all that, right? Because he's back. He's back with bang, right? And he is able to go to the similar glory. He may go to the similar glory, never know still. So point here is that such kind of material impact need to be analyzed. And then comes scenario analysis. Scenario analysis, first we have to understand each of the risk in isolation, then which could be physical or transitional risk, then combine them together as a scenario. Here, the process is looking into the governance of that scenario, that how I will tackle such kind of eventualities. Is it so material for my business? For example, disaster recovery plan, every company does, right? And business continuity plan, BCP. Ramesh ji, you must be seeing all the time AT&T is doing. Are you there? Ramesh ji is
All
there.
businesses do, sir. Disaster recovery, like
Absolutely.
PRS, passenger reservation system, you have a disaster recovery plan.
डेटा सेंटर वाले ज्यादा करते हैं because anyway they
और
need.
वो बहुत जबरदस्त होता है,
Yes.
cold and hot ऐसे
Yeah,
करके.
very much, Sumanji. It's like one of the important thing in our telecom industry. Whenever there are like the recent hurricanes happen in Louisiana and the other Florida states, disaster recovery is something important from a telecom perspective. We do have like cell on wheels, which is called a cow, and that we do there. And something unique, even in India, we want to do, and our leadership want to do in India. Can you do it something the eco-fragile zones? So what we are doing is something like innovatively. What we are doing is we do have mobile science lab. And can we use this mobile science lab when there are dark sky? We call it as something dark sky. Normal day is blue sky, and when the weather condition is bad, it is dark sky. So those days, what this van is going to be is these STEM labs will be removed, and we are going to do some essential supplies to the really required places like Wayanad, all this like ecologically fragile zones. We are going to have this kind of vans.
You got a practical example, everyone. Thank Ramesh ji.
Yeah, thank you.
Exactly, this is what has been talked here, right? This is how you do scenario analysis and prepare yourself, which a company is doing already. That's the advantage of being in such kind of network. Somebody must have done specifically using this such scenario, created their infrastructure so that they can be resilient. And that links to resilience. So tomorrow blog, you will find that being discussed. Thank you very much, Ramesh ji. Right? So governance, materiality, then identification, those scenario identification like they have done, and they have faced a issue, which is a Los Angeles fire, which is a very recent event, right? In January, people have lost so much of asset of $268 billion has been lost. Not million, not thousand, not rupees, $1 billion, and that too 268 of those billions, which has been lost. And this company has prepared themselves through cow, which is a kind of scenario analysis and a way to shift their infrastructure. Wonderfully explained, right? And if you can publish some paper, do share with us in the group at some point in time. Now, business impact evaluation is another way to look into analysis part, like they are doing, right? They are finding blue sky, dog sky, and I don't know what was the third sky. I could not follow even. So each company can prepare their own spectrum for resilience. So they have named it cow, they have named it blue sky. You can name it anything. But end game is that you have to have impact evaluation and a strategy to tackle that evaluation. And that happens, like Rajni said, in any company under disaster recovery, in business continuity plan, you have to list those measures, right? That one data center is affected by fire. I have already a replica done. Maybe little bit might have lost data because it's old data, which is done in-house. Or in-house has been impacted, then out-house. Now, potential responses need to be developed along with the documentation and disclosures, which you need to do in your ESG report for environmental factor. You are seeing how things are spanned out here and how practical are these. This is not theory, right? These are required and people are doing, just they are not accounting it for environmental factors. The moment you start doing it, like AT&T is doing, all large companies have started doing it, you will be also a resilient company and a company which is ESG compliant. Then comes the nature and biodiversity, which is the last part. Before that, of course, we will covering applying the materiality environmental factor specifically in the financial model, ratio analysis, risk assessment, and company project or even sector analysis. You can apply these factors, which we will identify and learn how to understand the risk and the opportunity out of it, and then include that as a variable in your model. Okay. Last but not least is we will talk about nature and biodiversity. That is the addition. The new addition in this year is this one. So 2 chapters. The third chapter, they have brought in nature and biodiversity, where they are discussing about TNFD, which is Task Force for Nature Related Financial Disclosure, and Nature Resource Risk Assessment Tool. Very interesting subject. This part we will have a summary as well as we will have a flashcard to read from. TNFD framework you need to learn. Assessing the nature of this you need to learn. Biodiversity framework and financial risk transmission you need to learn. That's in summary. We have to